Pleasant good afternoon, noon. It's 12 noon, and welcome to this special edition of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Today we have an hour-long program, and I'm sure you're excited to hear my guest today on WESN, the Honourable Mr. Stuart Young, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. Of course, we have a packed program speaking about the overview of Trinidad and Tobago today, in the future, now, and how best we can steer this country forward post-COVID and the economy. So before I bring on my guest, just a little bit about Mr. Young. Stuart Richard Young was a practicing attorney. Well, he's still an attorney before being elected to Parliament in September the 8th, 2015 as the Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. He first served as Minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs. Since then, Mr. Young has served in several ministerial capacities as Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister before being confirmed as Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, and as well Minister of Communications and Minister of National Security. Now, on the 19th of April 2021, Mr. Young was appointed Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, in addition to his duties as Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. Now, Mr. Young is a chairman of the Finance and General Purposes Committee of the Cabinet and a member of a number of Cabinet subcommittees, including the National Security Council, the Standing Committee on Energy, and the Human Advisory Committee. He has served as a member of a number of joint select committees of the Parliament, including Energy Affairs Committee. He also serves as a member of the Committee of Privileges and the Statutory Instruments Committee. He is a graduate of St. Mary's College and the University of Nottingham, where he studied law. Mr. Young was admitted to the Bar of Trinidad and Tobago, England and Wales, the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Antigua and Bermuda. He was appointed as the People's National Movement team in the Senate as a temporary opposition senator in March 2014 and is now serving his second re-election as the PNM's MP for Port of Spain. Why am I saying Point of Pierre? I don't know, probably because I'm from South. But Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West constituency. So, good afternoon, Minister Young.
Good afternoon, Rondell. That is a long run-up.
Yeah, it's a long run-up, but I think we did well.
You did.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be on your program, and to all of your viewers and those who are tuned in. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming on to this special program. I know with how busy you are, particularly with your numerous portfolios, I am sure that being here in your presence is amazing. So we appreciate you. Thank you. So let's get right into the nitty-gritty. Please do. Now, Minister Young, I would have spoken to you about this before, and you will have known in the public domain you are considered the minister of everything. And oftentimes persons misunderstand your portfolio and often state that, why do you speak on a lot of governmental issues? Can you just clarify exactly what your portfolio entails and why this is so? Well, Rondell, as you know, as you've listed there, since coming into government in 2015, the Honourable Prime Minister has put me in a number of ministerial portfolio roles. One that has stuck since March 2016 is Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. I think it was in point 14, the Prime Minister said, look, if you call in Minister Young Minister of Everything, that's a badge of honor. And I wear it as a badge of honor. My role, as I see it, is I've come into this thing to serve Trinidad and Tobago in whatever capacity, wherever the Prime Minister assigns me, and I will do the best for my country. So the fact that I've been given numerous responsibilities, also supporting roles to various ministers and different ministries, and that really comes out of being Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. So how that role evolved from March 2016 is really to go in a support position wherever needed to help various ministries and ministers so we can push things forward. And, I've gotten a lot of experience in that. I mean, one of the places that I played a lot of supporting a lot of support for was Minister Franklin Khan when we were negotiating a lot of deals out of the Ministry of Energy. So it is really to go wherever necessary. I mean, recently chairing the reopening of the border committee just to make sure that the Prime Minister had set that 17th of July date to make sure that we were on point, that everything was able to roll out smoothly and to get the job done. So they can call me whatever they want. It really doesn't bother me.
Indeed, and as well, and this is why it's important to clarify what the minister in the office of the Prime Minister does. Because I would think, or one would think that as the Prime Minister, he's in charge of everyone. He's in charge of all ministries.
Correct. And that's how it evolved, right? So you have, right now in this current term, you have two other ministers in the office of the Prime Minister. You have Minister Webster Roy, who's dealing with the gender affairs, and then you have Minister Simon Inobriga, who is Ministry of Communication. But my role as the Minister in the office of the Prime Minister, as said by the Prime Minister, is really so I can go anywhere and represent him and get things done on his behalf. Indeed. So that's what it is.
Now let's talk about your transition from Minister of National Security to now Minister of Energy and Energy Industries. Now how has that transition been for you?
A smooth transition, as I say. I mean, I've held a number of different portfolios, and I really view my tenure as being one where wherever I'm put, wherever the Honourable Prime Minister wants me to serve, I will go there, serve to the best of my ability. And it's easy because I have one mandate. I want to leave Trinidad and Tobago better than when I came in and when I found it, and make a contribution to move our country. So it really was seamless for me. I'd been doing a lot of work out of the office of the Prime Minister on the Prime Minister's mandate in the Ministry of Energy, as I say, in that supporting role, negotiating a lot, well, all of the major energy deals along with Minister Khan, helping with the formulation of policy and really the strategy of how we move our energy sector forward. So when the call came and the request was made, for me it was seamless. I mean, national security is a very vibrant, very different portfolio. But I don't think I missed a step at all and just made the transition very easily for myself.
No, it brought us back to the point where I remembered the Honourable, at that time, Howard Chinley, was appointed Minister of National Security under the late Patrick Manning. And persons were up in arms about whether he had experience, and what the Prime Minister indicated was once you are able to get the job done, that's the most important thing. How would you attest to that, being an attorney at law from a legal background to now being in charge, or at that time being in charge of national security?
Well, as I say, I mean, I've had to go into various things all over in the government, right? So I really leave those things up to the people who have worked with me. What do they think? What does the population think? You will always have detractors. You'll always have people casting negativity. But I think if you ask anyone across the whole national security platform, I think it was a good tenure. I think I did my best. I know I did my best. And I think I left it in a position of stability. And that is the type of feedback I've gotten, right? And continue to be there in a supporting role, meaning out of the National Security Council, anything that is needed anywhere. You know, I am available to assist, but I think my tenure from, it was 2018 to just the other day in April 2021, I think if you ask persons and the population, but then also those who are involved in national security at all the different levels, let them give the feedback. I did what I had done to the best of my ability, and I certainly felt good leaving it in a position of stability.
Indeed, and Minister, now, as you speak about the energy sector, now Trinidad and Tobago is considered an energy hub in Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, with the advent of global warming, climate change, we're now seeing a position where governments around the world are moving to renewable energy resources. What is the government's position on alternative or renewable energy?
All right, first of all, thanks a lot for that question. First of all, let me explain what is going on globally. Yeah? So you have the traditional oil and gas, and there's a whole move, as you say, because of global warming, we need to decarbonize. So those are the buzzwords going on globally now. We need to decarbonize, we need greener, cleaner energy. So first of all, there's no need to panic, because oil and gas is going to be here for decades. The oil may go before the gas. Gas is seen as a cleaner energy source, etc. Trinidad and Tobago is extremely well poised. We have ammonia, we have methanol, which are being utilized and will be utilized as clean energy sources going forward into the future. Right now we're looking at the hydrogen and the use of hydrogen, again, as another clean decarbonization commodity in the energy sector. So you have all of that going on. Then with the renewables, as I was explaining to someone last night, with renewables, you have to understand there are a lot of countries that aren't fortunate the way Trinidad and Tobago is. So if you look at some of the landlocked European countries that are leading the world with renewable energy, the use of solar, the use of wind farms and these types of things, they don't have oil and gas. So they have to purchase those commodities to generate, for example, electricity and energies to homes, heating, etc. So it makes sense for them to push for the renewables. The good news is we here in Trinidad, and certainly this government, we're going to move in that direction, because the more renewable energy we have, it allows us to free up the gas resources that we can then sell our gas resources for the commodities, be it on the downstream with the ammonia, methanol, urea, or to LNG. So we are moving in that direction. We have an
timeline.
Well, let me tell you, we have an excellent project right now with a joint venture between BP and Shell, BP Lightsource and Shell, the two international global giants, where we're putting down 2 solar parks. One will be in the Trinity area, one in the Point Lisas area, to feed into our electric grid, 112.2 megawatts, kilowatts of energy. And that is going to be the start of a lot of different things taking place. But we're also decarbonizing and looking at how do we decarbonize and keep our energy sector at the forefront of this whole global move and keep us competitive.
Now, as we are on the solar energy, actually. Now, I remember when this program was being advertised, one commentator had stated, and I will quote if you would allow me.
Please.
She said that she's beyond fed up of TNTEC's unreliable and unsustainable service that is impacting her productivity. She resides in Tobago. Now, she also stated, yet according to our current laws, she must pay for a license and get permission from the Ministry of Public Utilities to set up an alternative source of power. She goes on to say the catch is that TNTEC can still bill her even if she's generating her own power supply. How can we look forward to a transformation or modernization of TNTEC or the establishment of a parallel body?
Right. So the first thing that is being said there is something that we're looking at, right? I've already spoken to the Minister of Public Utilities. But people need to understand, right now when we're billed by TNTEC, it's for consumption of energy, consumption of electricity. So if a person is paying TNTEC, is how much electricity you're consuming. We now need to move to, as I've seen for decades in Barbados, where you have people with solar panels on their roof heating their water tanks. And so I understand there's a little bureaucracy there. We need to unstick that. But you still need to have a regulatory body. So don't be despondent that I'll still have to pay TNTEC. You're going to have to pay TNTEC for whatever you consume. If they charge you a small minimal fee, and we haven't reached there yet for the platform of security, because we still have to manage it. Like now when you have a generator, they need to regulate it, because as we have had deaths in the past, people go ahead, they put in a generator. When electricity goes off of the grid, that generator kicks in and it sends electricity back along into the grid. So you need a body to regulate it. And that's what TNTEC is about. But we now need to move some of our public utilities into how do we deal with the renewable energy? How do we deal with renewable energy sources like solar, possible wind, hydro, and these types of things? And the government is very, very focused on it. And it's one of the things we're going to be driving from the Ministry of Energy Industries. A really exciting one that I personally am excited about, electric cars.
Yes.
So I've told them we must formulate a policy. I'm hoping to go to Cabinet in the next month with a policy for us to start nationally now looking at and pushing the use of electric cars.
Because I've noticed, Minister, that there was during the pandemic, there was a company that actually launched this electric. I think is Ms. P, if I'm not mistaken. Some company that launched electric cars initiative, and I was wondering what sort of regulatory framework there are in place for persons who have those electric cars in Trinidad.
Well, I'm not sure we're not sure we need a regulatory approach, but I'm looking at the policy to take it, because my understanding is right now they have people with electric cars in Trinidad, and the technology has moved so rapidly.
In hybrid, especially hybrid
but
vehicles.
Full electric ones that you can now do. So then what you could do is, once you have a plug for your dryer, right, the same type of electricity supply for your dryer, they're using that, plug it in with a car port, and you charge your car. The technology has changed so rapidly in the last 2 to 5 years. It's now much more affordable. These carports are doing the personal research because it's the way to go. You have companies like Ford and GM who have declared by the year 2030 and stuff, they're only going to have electric cars. So those are the things that are happening to decarbonize and maybe move away from the traditional fuels. But I think we have to go the route of electric cars, or at least make it available for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and that's a contribution.
And all this will save the environment.
Correct.
Because it is clear that we are in a position now where we're seeing climate change. We're seeing where rainy season now is in dry
Look at what
season.
happened in Germany.
Yeah.
Just this week. So it is happening. It's a global phenomenon, and anyone who doesn't believe it, it is happening right in front of our eyes. Indeed.
But Minister, let's turn the discussion to NGC. I noticed that recently you announced that the state-owned NGC would have suffered an historic 2.1 billion loss in its 2020 financial year, partly as a result of the negotiation of the natural gas supply contract. Now, in layman terms, in terms of explaining what exactly took place, can you just share some light?
Of course. I mean, what has happened here is there are new accounting standards, and basically the accounting standard that had the biggest effect on NGC's accounts from 2020 that put them into this loss position. Let's start by understanding this. NGC, if they didn't have to book these new accounting principles and standards, had actually made a profit, right? They had over $1 billion in profit. But what the accounting standard says, Rondell, if you all know that you've entered into a contract that's going to lead to a loss for you, you have to book that now. So don't be booking it every year. So if you enter into a contract that's going to lead to a loss of $2 billion over the life of the contract, and there's nothing that could intervene to get you out of that loss position, reflect it in your accounts today. And that's exactly what happened with NGC. That was a major part. As I explained as well, there were also a number of claims against NGC where they were not able, there was something called gas curtailment. They had shortages of being able to provide gas to people they were contracted to provide gas for. They had to book those claims as well. And then what they did, again, accounting standards say you have to look at your asset base. So go and look at your pipelines. Yes. And if your pipelines are valued at $10 billion, you're looking at it now. We all know that over time, wear and tear, so it brings down the value. They had to book a depreciation, basically, on that as well. So those are the things that pushed NGC into the $2.1 billion loss. The good news is, as will be announced very shortly, well, it's already announced for the first quarter of this year, up to March 2021, they made a much bigger profit. If I remember, it's $191 million compared to $30 million last year for the same period. And very shortly, in the next few weeks, they will announce their results for the first half of the year, up to June 2021. And I think the country can be happy again because the profit has gone up again.
But did that loss affect taxpayers? That 2.1 billion, is that taxpayers' money?
Well, it's a loss that we, the taxpayers, had to book because ultimately we own NGC. It didn't result in any, well, yeah, it could result in a loss to the treasury because if you didn't have to book that, then we would have been able to pay dividends from NGC to the Minister of Finance and the Treasury, as well as those who have shareholding in NGC through things like NGL and these types of things. So yes, there was once you have a loss, whoever's the owner, you're going to suffer something. But it is not a collapse for us, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Very quickly, we're turning it around, we're back in our profit position. But it's a difficult environment. Things have changed. I mean, no matter how the opposition will try to pin that on us, it is not us. It is a changed global environment. And the truth is that bad deal is the only deal that they negotiated, very poorly so, between that 2010 to 2015 period. So that's on them. But I don't look at those things and harbor in the past. I mean, I want to drive and assist NGC and the energy sector going forward, staying competitive, keeping us in the game globally, and let's push hard to move forward.
Indeed, Minister. Minister, we will be right back after this break. You are watching a special edition of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Welcome back to another episode of Strictly Legal. Well, this special edition of Strictly Legal, where I have with me in studio Minister Stuart Young Minister of Energy and Energy Industries and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. Now, Minister Young, before the break, I know we were speaking about the energy sector. Now, let's turn to COVID-19. I know that's a very, very hot topic. Now, you would have been at the helm of Ministry of National Security during that time when we first had the lockdown. However, let's deal with the mandatory vaccination policy that has been perpetuating the media in terms of what is the government's position. Will there be a mandatory vaccination policy?
Right, Rondell. let me just state, so from day one, the cabinet had taken a decision that the Prime Minister would chair a smaller committee, at the time the Minister of Health, the Minister of National Security, because when managing COVID, you need to be able to make very quick decisions, to be able to react and to be able to put the country's responses in place. So during that time, I served as the Minister of National Security and was part of that. When there was a change and I was moved to Minister of Energy, Energy Industries, so you now have Minister Hines, Minister Dial Singh, the Prime Minister, but I'm still part of that process, again, as you started the interview, as Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
So that is the team that will meet with our public health experts, the CMO and his team, and we all observe what is going on around the world, bring things to the table for the decision making, etc. I'd like to thank all of our public health experts, all of our public health givers, etc., for helping to guide us through this extremely difficult global pandemic that's still in play.
Yes.
I was looking at what's going on, as I always do, around the world, seeing what happened in the UK, seeing what's going on in the US now, with all states with rising. And so we look and observe at what is going on around the world constantly. We challenge the science, we ask the questions, so we can try and make the best decisions for Trinidad and Tobago. There is no mandatory vaccination policy. I mean, right now, as the Prime Minister has said very, very clearly, vaccinate to operate. We're asking people, we finally have a large supply of vaccines here. We have been doing from day one, no matter how people try to rewrite history.
Indeed.
Our best, the Prime Minister led the charge from January of this year as the chairman of CARICOM, with leaders all around the world for us to get vaccines, not only for Trinidad and Tobago, but for the CARICOM. We in Trinidad and Tobago now have hundreds of thousands of vaccines here. I am pleased, and I'd like to congratulate the Ministry of Health for the rollout that is taking place.
Particularly the drive-through.
Correct, the drive-thrus that are taken. Because you remember a few weeks ago, the conversation is, why are you all not having drive-thrus? Because you need to have a supply. You need to have a stream of hundreds.
And now,
correct.
Why we have this brand?
Well,
why
always,
the PM taking this brand?
You will always have the detractors. But the truth is, the science around the world is the vaccine gives you the best opportunity in beating this virus. Those who are unvaccinated right now around the world are the ones who are spreading the virus, contracting the virus, different variants, and that. So right now, there is not any consideration, active consideration going on at the cabinet level, as the Prime Minister stated, with respect to any mandatory vaccine policy. You are a lawyer, I'm a lawyer, we could have legal discussions as to whether that can be done, whether it should be done, whether it shouldn't be done. I am watching on, as we see some of the academic people in our region talking about whether they should. That's not the conversation that's in front of us right now. The conversation we need to have as a population is, there are vaccines available, please go and vaccinate yourself once the opportunity presents for yourself, because that is the way you're going to make your space more secure, you're safe, your family, and these types of things. So there is no mandatory vaccine policy that's on the table before the government right now. I just want to make that clear. The Prime Minister has already articulated what the government's position is. If that comes later on, because you don't know how this thing is going to change. I mean, managing it since January last year to now, we've seen how this thing changes. Initially, there was a point in time where the experts were saying you don't have to wear a mask. If you remember back in March last year when we first got our first case of active COVID here, very quickly, that changed to, well, hold on, put on a mask. That's going to offer you one of the best forms of protection. Right now, we are guided by the WHO. We've been guided by them right from the start of this pandemic. So what I was going to say is right now, the WHO are advising, get vaccinated. That jab in your arm of a WHO-approved vaccine is the best chance of us fighting this, and that's what we're doing.
And it's not bad. It's a quick
correct
stick.
Correct.
You know, people do worse. But as we're speaking about the legal discussion, I wanted to turn the discussion to employers requesting or making it mandatory that employees take the vaccine, or else they will be unemployed. Now, I know there were a few discussions from various legal luminaries in their own rights, which speaks to the fact that they are relying on the OSH Act, which deals with employers providing a safe work environment for employees as well as the public. Now, is it legal for employers to coerce employees to take the vaccine at this point?
Well, I mean, that's something I presume may be tested in the courts anytime soon, or if this thing prevails. But as you know, in common law, so forget the OSH Act, in common law, as an employer, you have a responsibility and a duty to all of your employees to provide them with a safe place of work. That started as and continues to be a common law principle in the whole industrial relations and employment law spectrum. You now have the OSH Act. So I'm going to leave the lawyers, leave the courts to decide that. But there are strong arguments. Of course. Well, I was speaking to a senior counsel last week, and he said, look, there's case law already, decisions out of, for example, Australia, that are saying that the employer really has a duty to provide that safe place of work in the pandemic. If there's a solution, then the employer has obligation to the whole, to everyone, as opposed to an individual's rights. And in that case, it was held that the individual's rights are trumped by protecting all of us, the rest of us, and this type of thing. So it's an interesting legal thing.
Because I had a discussion of in my previous episode about employers' liability,
right,
and how do you weigh in terms of a safe work environment to the public, to your employees, versus not having vaccinated.
Well, correct. And I mean, if you are now going to be the breach in that work environment, that is something that the law has to look at. Very often, as you know, the law is to govern the whole, is for all of us in public, as opposed to an individual's rights. And so it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds in the courts or wherever it has to go to. But my view is, please, go and get vaccinated. Why put up the fight unless you have some absolutely medical, strong reason? You always have that.
The 5G. Now, Minister, there are concerns that the government's roadmap to recovery post-COVID is nothing more than lip service. Now, further, that the government seems to be out of touch based on commentary with the hardships that are facing the citizens. Now, is there light at the end of the tunnel with respect to how we treat with this post-COVID recovery?
All right, first of all, we're still in COVID, right? There's still a pandemic going on. Let me deal with the first thing that's being suggested. That roadmap to recovery report is not lip service, all right? Right now, actively is being looked at by the cabinet. Every minister has been given the responsibility. Look at the report, see how it is going to affect your area, your position, your portfolio, your ministry, and then let's come back together with all of the threads. I expect that work is going on. I expect the results in a not too distant future. So that's the first point. We're still in a pandemic. This thing is unpredictable. I mean, I have seen it up and down in economies around the world, the most sophisticated of economies around the world, with all the money and the variations, the variants. But also, Rondell, you would have seen those who have had the vaccine available to them. Remember, Israel, for example, was supposed to be one of the most vaccinated populations. They had a spike. Something went, they had a spike, the cases surged, they had to react it. United States on the West Coast in the past week, they're looking at mandatory mask wearing again. So bear those things in mind as we continue to navigate this pandemic. There is no definite pathway. The government, I want to strongly deny and rebuke and refute that the government is not in touch with what is going on with the people. We see it. I mean, I'm a member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's
Port
West,
of Spain
right?
North, yes.
And I mean, I just spend the morning just in Belmont and this type of thing. We are very aware. I mean, all of us as individuals, we discuss it. We know that persons are, and that is why I can then tell you, putting on my hat and being in the room with the Prime Minister, Minister of National Security, Minister of Health, as decisions are being made, listening to the public health experts, we are very conscious of what's going on out there. And that is why you take the risk, a calculated risk. The vaccines are here, and you opened up. this Monday, after telling people, listen, take a week, start preparing yourselves. You've opened up the curbside, the takeaway food. That's a big movement of people. And then what you know, you're taking some more calculated risk. So we are very conscious. We are very aware. We certainly as a government have no desire to keep anyone from going out and earning an honest living. I mean, we would love for everybody to be back out there, back to life as normal. But that's just not the reality that we're facing right now. We are very conscious. So I just want to totally annihilate this theory and this submission, to use illegal language, that the government isn't conscious of how difficult it is for everyone out there. I mean, we are extremely conscious. It's a constant topic of conversation. We will continue to do what we can, and I'm happy there are corporate citizens out there who are brothers keepers, and I want to thank all of them. I want to thank everyone. I mean, and it could be the smallest thing, that you have today, you see your neighbor doesn't have, you help your neighbor. Those are the things, and that was my personal theory on what COVID was. I call it the equalizer from day one. But I think that message has been lost on the world. We are all supposed to take some stock, take a look at it. Okay, I am not better than my brother or my sister. We're all equal. No matter how much money you have, what color your skin is, what race, what religion, where you come from, COVID could take you. Indeed. So let's all look after each other. And sometimes it saddens me that I haven't seen that take root across the world. Vaccine inequity.
Yes,
it's a big one.
It's a big one. And vaccine politics have everything to do with it. Now, Minister, with the opening of the borders, it opened last week.
Correct.
It was announced that there will be a TT travel pass required for entry into the country. Now, how effective has that been? How effective that online rollout has been?
It's been, again, knock on wood, it's a very robust system. And again, I'm using the opportunity to thank people. Those who are working with us over the last few weeks. Is a very short time frame. The IT platform got up and is going. We now have a full-time Minister of Digitization who is doing the digital transformation, Minister Bacchus, him and his team before Minister West, and the iGov team, the team at the ministry, they've done a fabulous job with our providers. The system is up and running. Obviously, you will have teething issues as you go along, but it did not knock it off course. We've had a number of flights. Hundreds of people have come in. The last numbers I got yesterday was well over 700 people had been issued their TT travel pass certificates to come in the country. Understand again, this is a pillar and a platform to protect Trinidad and Tobago. So what we need to see in advance is, if you're vaccinated, upload the proof of vaccination. Before you come to Trinidad, everyone is required to have within a 72-hour, 3-day period, a negative PCR. Upload that. So you only get this travel pass, within the 3 days before you arrive in Trinidad. It is working very well. You're going to constantly be tweaking the system. So for example, if WHO changes its guidelines, for example, right now, just AstraZeneca and a second shot of Pfizer are accepted by WHO. That could change. But right now, that's what the platform allows. So you're constantly going to be tweaking. We're looking at it. We're listening. It has been operating. People have come in, and everyone has been using it. Bar one, and I'll leave it like that, right?
Leave it like that. Yes, Minister. We have to take a break. Okay, we'll be right back. You're watching WESN Content Capital. And welcome back to Strictly Legal special episode with the Honourable Stuart Young. Mr. Young, we were speaking about the quarantine, the TT travel pass, but what about the quarantine facilities? Now, unvaccinated nationals are allowed to come into the country, but they have to provide they have to pay for quarantine. Do we have enough facilities in place for those quarantine citizens?
The answer is yes. Obviously what you're looking at again, as I say, when you're managing COVID and the country's response, you're managing risk. So there are a number of hotels that have been approved by the Ministry of Health to provide what we call state-supervised quarantine facilities. I think it's over 300 rooms. As you know, a room can hold the varying numbers of people that it can hold. But what you want to do, because the unvaccinated persons are the ones who may present the most level of risk of spreading the virus, contracting the virus, definitely, and these types of things. So you will limit and ring fence the total number. But I mean, at 300 plus rooms, you're looking at, if you multiply that by 2 as well, over 600 at any given point in time, is very often much more than that. So we have sufficient at this stage. I mean, today is Tuesday, so we're well into it. We started Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Everything is going smoothly. That system is working. And we're really hoping that most people coming would be vaccinated. And you're seeing that in the percentages. So you're seeing, yes, there are a number of persons who are unvaccinated nationals coming in, but then the vast majority are vaccinated persons.
And how do we treat with the persons who breach quarantine? Because I know that has been, it's part of the ordinance.
It is, correct. Right? So the regulations provide for that. On the last day before we went into the recess of Parliament in the House, we also increased the fines. So anybody breaching that, you're now subject to $350,000, 6 months imprisonment. So we've beefed the law up in terms of the penalty should you breach quarantine. And then, of course, we have security procedures in place. But, I mean, really, people, let's just try and abide by the law. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're harming a number of innocent people potentially.
Now, Minister, let's switch the conversation from COVID. Let's deal with this forex exchange shortage in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the lack of forex exchange is constricting operations within the business economy, of course, because of COVID. How do we expect to attract foreign investors and diversify the economy if we are lacking foreign exchange?
All right, let's just understand, and the foreign exchange is really for the Ministry of Finance, but begin by understanding Trinidad and Tobago doesn't print foreign exchange. So for us to use United States dollars, which is really the currency we're talking about when we're talking about foreign exchange, you have to earn it. It has to come in. The big provider of that in the past was the energy sector, all right, and the input of energy. What you had is within years, you've had commodity prices go down. So I always hear these stories around the cabinet table back in 2005, 2006, how high gas prices were at that time. They say gas prices had passed $13 and stuff, US dollars.
It was like $70 or something.
No, that's oil.
Oil,
right?
Yes.
So just on the gas, and now we're dealing with, you're happy when our gas price goes over $3. So it shows you how commodities go. Oil, last year, April, there was a day where people in the United States were paying people to take oil. They weren't selling oil, you know. If you have a tanker, you could come, take oil and go. So you went into negative. Today, it is at about between $65 and $70. The past few weeks, it had actually crossed $70, was up to $75.
Wow.
But to show you what has happened, the OPEC, the oil producing giants, took a decision, okay, we're going to increase supply by a couple million barrels, and that affects the price. So Trinidad is constantly dealing with the global commodity prices. So that's the input of revenue. We as a government are constantly looking at the potential of diversifying the economy. There's some projects that we're looking at. For example, the Prime Minister last week, Friday, went to bring in the two, or look at the two hostile fast ferries. You heard him announce that we have acquired from the whole CLF CLICO bailout the carry dock facilities. So we're looking at partnering now with someone to bring those facilities up to a regional standard where not only service our new fast ferries, our new vessels, the Coast Guard vessels and others, but in the region to be able to provide dry docking facilities to train our locals. That's a big area of diversification if we can get that off of the ground. And we're looking at projects, but right now we continue to go along. Trinidad and Tobago, we've become spoiled. Right? We're accustomed to living at $100 of foreign exchange. Now if we're earning 80, where does that $20 gap go? Who bridges that gap? Yeah. Who takes the lack of that $20 of foreign exchange onto their lap? And that's what we're facing. We have to really assess the lifestyle and understand that we don't print foreign exchange here. You have to earn it. How do we earn it? Where's the private sector in going out there, taking those risks, getting into ventures, manufacturing areas that can then attract
but
by
there must
selling.
Be some sort of attractiveness.
Well, is there? Is there? The incentives are there.
Yeah.
But we've become an economy that's very based on government. Everything is from government. We had to roll back from that a little bit, and those who have the money look at, as an entrepreneur, what can I do to attract foreign exchange? Diversification of an economy doesn't only have to be driven by the government.
Indeed. Let's talk Tobago. I know it's a sensitive topic, but it's an ongoing issue. Now, can you shed some light on what's the next step, seeing that the Tobago self-government bill has been defeated? I mean, I know it has gone to Joint Select Committee again, or for consultation.
No,
can you just
let me tell you
light?
what has happened. It hasn't been defeated. So where it is sitting in the committee stage of the House. So what the committee stage means, it is still current,
there
it's
was
still
a
live.
walkout.
Well, yes, they walked out, correct.
Yes.
That's what they did, right? They protest as usual, look for an easy way out. It's still in the committee stage. What is happening now is that allows the Joint Select Committee and the government to do some more consultation. The minister in charge of that is Minister Robinson Regis. She's the chairperson of that committee. That's what they've done. They've gotten in there, from what I understand, they're getting in certain further points of view, etc. And that's where it is. I am not involved in that process. I don't sit on the Joint Select Committee. When I looked at the bill, looked at what was being provided, I thought it was an excellent piece of work, and congratulations to them and all who contributed. You're never going to please everyone, but it definitely is some big steps towards that autonomy that Tobago talks about, and that's as much as I will say on that topic.
Certainly, and I respect that. You mentioned previously about the two patrol vessels that were acquired to be used by the Coast Guard. How efficient, are there going to be any more procurement of more vessels to protect our borders at this crucial time?
Let's understand that once you're 360-degree water around you, you're an island, it's always going to be an issue with border protection. Those are two state-of-the-art vessels. I am proud as a citizen of these vessels. I mean, I was there from start to finish, walking through the vessels last week, Friday. The quality of those vessels was simply amazing.
So the gym.
Yeah, correct. And I hope they maintain it, and they do. So we've provided those assets. We are also conscious as a government of prioritization of spend and these types of things. The Coast Guard is in a good position now. They'll maintain what they have. They'll use their vessels. At the end of the day, the Minister of National Security, if he requires more, will come back to Cabinet. We'll have those discussions. But right now, let's focus on what we have, getting them operational, implementing your plans to protect our borders as much as is possible, and just getting out there on the waters.
Indeed. And of course, it draws to the next point in terms of the voluntary repatriation of Venezuelan nationals that took place last week. What's the government's plan moving forward with respect to those temporarily here for 6 months, I believe, at a time? I'm not sure you can explain. Are they going to be extended consistently? What's going to happen?
What the government did, and again we were at the forefront in the whole Western Hemisphere when we were dealing with this a few years ago in 2019, we took a decision whether you're here legally or here illegally. This is from the Venezuelans. If you're here legally or illegally, come forward and register. You're not going to have any repercussions in law once you come forward and register. We had 16,523 people who came, they registered. I'll use this point to make an interesting observation. I saw recently that the new head of the UNHCR in Trinidad actually released a reporter some information about the number of refugees, which we don't have here in Trinidad and Tobago. They registered refugee applications, and it was about 17,000. They said 80% of that, 17,000 plus, 80% of that are Venezuelans. That married almost identically to what the government's registration numbers were. So that's the first point. We allow that. It's humanitarian based. We said we will continue to monitor it, take decisions. We've done that. We've gone through a re-registration process earlier this year. That is in play. Things are going to change. Persons don't want to go back home. We've always said these are migrants, economic migrants, who come because they want to earn a better living, etc. We here in Trinidad and Tobago, the citizens, the government, have done what we can. We've facilitated it. Let's continue to see how things go. We've never thrown the registered Venezuelans out, and now you're seeing that as times change, look, they're working with the same government, because it's a Venezuelan government repatriation exercise. So it's the Venezuelan government who came to assist its own people to go back, and it's the second such exercise. You remember a few months ago, they did it on a plane, And now today, this weekend, it was a vessel, a marine vessel, with hundreds of people. So those are good signs.
Yep, and of course, we have to be careful or cognizant of the fact that we are signed on to the United Nations Charter on Human Rights.
Correct.
So I know it's a very ticklish topic, of course.
Well, I mean, we do what we have to do.
Yes.
You know, we protect our people in Trinidad and Tobago, but with open arms, those 16,523 Venezuelans who came, recognizing that things were being made difficult because of the geopolitics in the world at the time and these types of things. So that's what it goes. But the government continues to monitor. It's not nothing written in stone. Indeed. In that, and we will respond accordingly.
Now let's get personal. Stuart Young, where do you see Stuart Young in 2025?
I can't tell you where I see Stuart Young tomorrow, much less in 2025.
But of course, we have to plan, and one thing that we lack, or it's important, is succession. Mm-hmm. Succession of anything. Is it leadership in terms of your practice? In terms of you as Minister, MP?
At this stage, I took a decision, maybe naively so, in 2015 to get involved in electoral politics because I really wanted to contribute to Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not going to sit with my arm on a chair and just criticize and stuff. That opportunity presented, come and try to better Trinidad and Tobago. That's what I did, 2020. Persuaded myself to come back in for another term, and I'm really taking it day by day. I don't know what the future holds. I continue to be a servant of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, representing a party that I believe in a lot of their core principles. I think is the only party in Trinidad and Tobago that has those core principles. A constitution that you see is taken seriously as the People's National Movement. It's very, very dynamic. I have been fortunate. I'll use this opportunity to thank the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, that literally I got the opportunity to work very closely with him. From day one, I've had tremendous experience. I mean, look at it. You have national security experience. You move into energy experience. Trinidad and Tobago remains one of the global leaders in energy. No matter what people may try to rewrite that, it is. In the last few weeks, I've been in international conferences with ministers from all over the world, from the Latin American region, from Africa. We've been having conversation about the future of it. You're dealing with the multinationals. So that's a tremendous experience. Those things count for a lot. Let's see what the future brings. And I will continue to serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago in whatever role I'm called into. It could be back in private practice there with you all at the bar table. Yes. I love arguing cases. Correct. I miss the courtroom. When you're a lawyer and you're formulating arguments to see in the interpretation of law, that's also development of the country. It could continue negotiating deals. But I believe, this is one of the prayers I say every morning. God, give me the strength to do your will be done. And that's what I leave it at. Minister Young, thank you so much. Our time is up, but thank you so much for joining us, for giving of yourself, speaking about government's work, your personal work, and just about transforming the lives and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So thank you very much for being on Strictly Legal. Rondell, thank you to your viewership. Thank you personally for the time here today. It was a great pleasure. The time flew, and I hope it was worth your while and maybe some other people's while as well. It was indeed. Please keep well. You too. Stay safe. So guys, it is a wrap. You have been watching this special edition of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital with the Honourable Stuart Young, Minister of Energy and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. See you on Thursday for a normal episode of Strictly Legal. See you. Good day.